All right, well, good afternoon. I am excited to have all of you here on this webinar about registered apprenticeship programs and the workforce development strategies that come along with it. We're excited to be partnering with the Commission for Minority Affairs in this presentation, and we're excited to have all of you here with us. To kick it off, we'll have Demetrius Smith, who is an apprenticeship consultant, speak on registered apprenticeship programs, and then I will speak about the State Apprenticeship Expansion Equity and Innovation Grant that Apprenticeship Carolina recently received, and we'll wrap it up with some questions. So thank you all for being willing to take some time out of your day, and I'll turn it over to Demetrius. Demetrius, you're muted.
Good afternoon, everyone. You would think by now you would learn to check that mute button. Are you all able to see the apprenticeship slide on your screen? Okay. Well, as you hopefully have heard by now, November in South Carolina by the governor has been declared to be South Carolina Apprenticeship Month, and the Department of Labor in November also celebrated National Apprenticeship Week. So this is an exciting time to be talking about apprenticeships. And just wanted to make sure that everyone was fully aware of what it is when we say registered apprenticeship, exactly what that is and what it entails. First, we'll start with just giving you a little overview about Apprenticeship Carolina, who we are, what it is that we do. Apprenticeship Carolina is a division of the South Carolina Technical College system. And here, this slide just shows the different divisions of the system, the economic division, as well as the credit and continuing education programs that are done throughout the 16 public colleges in the state. Briefly, our process is what we call the 3D process, discovery, design, delivery. We work with organizations to discover what their workforce needs are, and then we continue to work with them to design a customized workforce solution, and then we deliver that solution and provide ongoing customer service after that solution is delivered so that organizations can maximize the benefits of having a registered apprenticeship. So what exactly is a registered apprenticeship? Keyword, registered. A registered apprenticeship is an apprenticeship that has been registered on the federal level with the United States Department of Labor. So it is nationally recognized. It meets a set of national standards. It combines on-the-job learning and job-related education into what we call an earn while you learn model. And there are three components that every registered apprenticeship program have to have. One is on-the-job training. On-the-job training that's done under the eyes of a mentor. And then job-related education, education that reinforces that training and vice versa. And then a scalable wage progression. So individuals will come in at a certain wage, and then they are financially rewarded as they are progressing through their apprenticeship. And these things combine to help organizations have a certified, skilled workforce. So what are some of the benefits to organizations for putting a registered apprenticeship program in place? One, we'll start right in the middle, standardized skills. So every employee that you have in a particular position that is apprentice will receive a standardized training. So you don't have to worry about they being trained one way on A shift or trained the second way on B shift, or anything like that, or the training is standardized. That way, you ensure employees are being given all that they need to be successful in that position, regardless of the employee and regardless of the mentor. And that leads to having a highly skilled workforce. Having a highly skilled workforce helps employers with a reduction in turnover and increasing productivity. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a few moments. And then the state of South Carolina, for all employers who have a tax liability to the state will provide you $1,000 tax credit per apprentice per year that they're in the program. So that is so important. We're going to mention that again. $1,000 tax credit per apprentice per year that they're in the program up to 4 years. So the state will provide that tax credit for your registered apprentices. Now, often skilled trades, manufacturing are the things that come to mind when individuals think apprenticeships, and that's for a reason. Apprenticeships have been highly successful in those areas and continue to be, but those are not the only areas where apprenticeships can be done. This, you will see our target industries, but truly, even beyond these target industries here, construction technology, advanced manufacturing, healthcare, energy and utilities, information technology, transportation and distribution, logistics, tourism and service industries. Beyond those, apprenticeships can pretty much serve any industry and any company size. So there are apprenticeships being done at some of the biggest name companies in the state, and there are apprenticeships being done with companies that only have 2 people. And I think of a particular example where it's a father and son. The father is the mentor, the son is the apprentice. So no matter your company size, apprenticeships, registered apprenticeships can be for you. So the Dollarmore School of Business at USC has been doing an independent return on investment study, and they have brought back data that shows what we already know. These programs work. Registered apprenticeship programs work. For every dollar invested by year 5, employers are seeing a 41-cent return, and by year 7, $1.35 return. That's an amazing return on investment. Employees who participate in an apprenticeship program are staying longer, over 3 years longer on average. So you have employees who are staying longer and producing more. So that is a cost savings by you're not having to hire as often, you're not having to train as often. So those are cost savings on the front end, and then again, there's that $1,000 tax credit from the state as well on the back end. So we talked about some of the benefits to employers. What about to the apprentices themselves? There are benefits to the apprentices. It's the earn while you learn model. So apprentices are learning. They don't have to know it all. So this is a amazing way for individuals to begin a career path or transition to a new career path without having to know every single thing about that career to be successful in it. They're going to get it as they go along. So the earn while you learn model is truly a game changer for individuals in terms of their career advancement. Depending upon the apprenticeship, individual apprentices may receive industry certifications as they're participating in the program. They will receive occupation-specific training. So again, they're going to learn exactly what they need to learn to be successful in that occupation. Every apprentice who completes a program in addition to any industry certifications, will receive a national credential from the United States Department of Labor. So that's a stackable credential that they get on top of any other industry certifications. Potential advancement within the company. The programs are designed to help people advance their career long term. And then, of course, the wage progression, they get paid. And the more that they learn, the more that they do, the more they show they're competent, the more they get paid. And these are just some numbers to highlight growth of apprenticeships in South Carolina. Back in 2007, there were approximately 100 companies doing apprenticeships with approximately 1,000 apprentices. And so in 14 years time, those numbers have just grown astronomically. And now we have almost 37,000 individuals in South Carolina who have either completed a registered apprenticeship or are in one now on their way progression towards completion. Nearly 1,200 registered apprenticeship programs, and of those programs, 275 are youth programs. And so we say that, one important thing to note, registered apprenticeships can be utilized for adults. They can be utilized for youth. They can be utilized for existing employees that are already on your payroll. They can be utilized for new hires or a combination of any of those things. As it relates to youth apprentices, this is an amazing opportunity for companies to tap into the workforce earlier, where you're bringing in high school juniors and seniors to start learning those things that you would have them to learn to be successful in the apprenticeships that's necessary for your company. And you get a chance to train them train them early, and again, tap into that workforce early. It is a viable solution. Again, you can use it for adults. You can use it for existing employees, but youth is definitely a way to consider to go. It is successful. You will see here 38 of the counties in the state have at least one registered youth apprenticeship program. So it is happening right now, and we would encourage you to take advantage of these opportunities. And this is just my contact information. We have a team of consultants, which is the role that I serve in, that cover the entire state and provide services throughout the state. You can contact me. You can go to our website, apprenticeshipcarolina.com, directly to find your consultant, or if you want to reach out to me, depending upon the area of the state that you're in, I can put you in contact with your consultant as well. And we strongly encourage you. These are our social media handles. Follow us on social media. There's too much wonderful things going on about apprenticeships to be able to convey it all at this time. But if you connect with us, like us, follow us on social media, you can see all the amazing things that's happening across the state as it relates to registered apprenticeships. And so that's just a few minutes to make sure you know what these are and how they could benefit you, and that they are indeed for you regardless of your industry and regardless of your company size. Thank you.
Thanks, Demetrius. Well, I'll speak briefly, and then Amy Firestone will wrap up. So I'm going to share my screen for a moment and talk about the new grant that we have just received here at Apprenticeship Carolina. So give me 1 second. Sure if they can see this presentation. All right, can you all see this presentation here? The State Apprenticeship Expansion, Equity, and Innovation Grant. Demetrius, somebody?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'll spend just a few minutes talking with you all about an exciting new initiative that we here at Apprenticeship Carolina will be undertaking over the next 4 years. So, as Demetrius mentioned, we work directly with the United States Department of Labor. And every year they come out with new grant opportunities focusing on new initiatives. This year it was focused on equity and innovation in apprenticeships. And so we received, let me see if I can, there we go. So we received $7.71 million in USDOL apprenticeship grant funding for the next 4 years to support our apprenticeship expansion, equity, and innovation projects. Of that $7.71 million, just over $2.6 million will go to provide scholarships to new registered apprentices and to pre-apprentices. By scholarships, what we mean there is that individuals who are participating in registered apprenticeship programs are required to have job-related education, as Demetrius told you earlier. We provide funds to offset the costs of that job-related education wherever the employer chooses to provide that training to the apprentice. So that's one of the ways that this grant is supporting apprentices on the ground. Another way that we provide support directly to apprentices is through supportive service funding, and that is up to $1,000 per apprentice. That funding is used to offset costs that would otherwise be a barrier to an apprentice participating in this program, things such as childcare, mortgage, rent, utility assistance, anything that would traditionally be thought of as a supportive service, a need that somebody has that may otherwise prevent them from participating in this program is something that we can help support with this up to $1,000 per apprentice amount. And then we also have $600,000 that we have set aside to provide employer incentive funding. This is something that we have never provided before, but something that we're very excited about providing. What employer incentive funding is, and I'll get to it a little bit later in more detail, is we help offset the cost of the on-the-job learning or the job-related education and or tools or supplies that it may be a barrier to an employer or an apprentice as well. And so I can get into that in a little more detail in another slide. But I did also want to say that this is focused on industries impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Those include, but of course are not limited to, manufacturing, hospitality, and healthcare. We're also focusing on non-traditional industries, things that you might not typically think of an apprenticeship being a part of, such as transportation, retail, trade, information technology, administrative and or support services, and finance and insurance. And all of those, yes, can be an apprenticeship occupation or industry that we will support. And then of course, last but not least, we are offering our focus on small and minority business. We want to make sure that they have the knowledge and the ability and the resources to participate in apprenticeships, just like some of the major corporations here in South Carolina do, and be as successful with those programs and with those apprentices. So that's briefly the grant goals. I'll talk to you a little bit as well about the employer incentive funding, as I said. So when we first started talking about this grant, we wanted to figure out a way to help as many employers as possible. Previously, scholarship funding had been provided to offset the cost of the job-related education only at the technical colleges. But we wanted to ensure that any apprentice, regardless of whether they got their job-related education at the technical college or by an external training provider somewhere else, had the same resources and support that was needed to ensure that they were successful. And so what we did is we introduced the concept of employer incentive funding here in South Carolina. That provides up to $3,000 per registered apprentice to offset the costs of their job-related education that is provided by a training provider of the employer's choice. We recognize and we build programs so that they meet the needs of that employer. And that may mean that the training provider is different for every employer, but it doesn't mean that we don't want to support those employers and those apprentices as they go through those programs. So this funding, this $3,000 per apprentice, will help support or offset the cost that is typically associated with the job-related education at any training provider. We also can help an apprentice pay for tools or supplies for that occupation that they may be starting in. You know, some of these apprenticeshipable occupations are very expensive. The tools, the supplies, the things that are needed to support this apprentice throughout that program cost a lot of money. And we recognize that, and we want to help offset those costs as well. Alternatively, if you identify that the best training provider is someone within your organization, we can help to pay for curricula development costs. And what that means is that if you have somebody internally that's going to provide the training, they have to develop it. We'll help pay for the time they've spent developing it and the time they spend giving it to these registered apprentices. And then we also recognize that there are other extraordinary costs of starting a registered apprenticeship program that aren't inclusive of these three things that I just mentioned. So we will work with employers on a as needed basis to determine if there are other things that we can cover that may have not been listed above or may have not been thought of, but are truly barriers to starting, maintaining, or completing a registered apprenticeship program, either for the employer or for the apprentice. So that's just a little bit about employer incentive funding, which is one component of this grant. The curricula development section below kind of outlines what I just said about the wages times the number of hours. And then one last note, we can't combine registered apprenticeship funding to offset a significant or sizable tool, supply, or equipment cost, just because that's something that comes with federal regulations and purchasing items over $5,000. So something to keep in mind, but something we would definitely love to pursue, especially with individuals in any of the industries we mentioned, or in any industry in the state. We would love to talk more about employer incentive funding on a one-on-one basis. And then to talk a little bit about some of the other exciting things that you'll see in the coming months and years as we launch the SAE-EI grant. One of the things that we recognize is that there is a big disconnect between individuals who want employment in a registered apprenticeship program and employers that want to hire those individuals. And so we came together and we said, you know what, I think a job board would be the best use of the funding here that they provide through USDOL. And so we will work with a vendor to develop and establish a free, easy to use, easy to access job board that will be provided to both prospective apprentices and employers with registered apprenticeship programs as a way to marry the two and ensure that people looking for jobs and employers looking for work can find each other. We also recognize that individuals nowadays are very interested in ensuring that what they do and that their successes are demonstrated on social media, especially LinkedIn. And one of the things that we've seen become very popular recently is a electronic badge system. So as apprentices go through these milestones of their apprenticeship program, or as they complete their program, we want to make sure that those milestones are celebrated but also recognized. And so we will put together an electronic badge system and a credentialing database where we track and celebrate those milestones with each apprentice. We're also going to launch a registered apprenticeship alumni network. So we also understand that apprentices learn not only from their mentors, but they also learn from people that have gone through the program and completed it. And we feel that they offer some of the best advice and insight into those registered apprenticeship programs. We want to make sure that they have access to those individuals, and those individuals who have completed their programs and want to mentor and support current apprentices are able to do so. So we hope that this alumni network will connect the two and help ensure that apprentices who are in the program are as successful as they can be. One of the really exciting things and a focus of the equity component of this grant is our support for the Latinx community statewide. We have three focuses of our initiative into the Latinx community. The first of which is the hiring of Apprenticeship Carolina's first ever bilingual registered program specialist. She is actually on the call with us today. Her name is Bree Romero. She has started here in Columbia with us and will be working all around the state to ensure that employers have the resources that they need and the knowledge they need to create and be successful with registered apprenticeship programs. And more importantly, that apprentices are able to access those programs once they are created. So not only are we helping to create programs, but we're helping to put people into those programs and ensure that they're successful. We will also do an extensive marketing and outreach campaign to ensure that the programs and the resources that we have and are developing are available to those communities, that they know and are aware of everything that we do, and that we're doing it in a way that enables them to participate fully. And then to supplement all of this, one of the most important things is translating all of our Apprenticeship Carolina materials and resources into Spanish. We want to make sure that people who come to us and say, hey, I'd like to participate in a registered apprenticeship program, have the ability to read all of our documents in a language that makes them feel comfortable. And we feel like one of the best ways to do that is to translate all of our documents into Spanish to make sure they're accessible to everybody. And then as part of the State Apprenticeship Expansion, Equity, and Innovation Grant, one of the things that we worked and trained or included in our grant application was a diversity, equity, and inclusion plan, which I will speak about a little bit in the next slide. All right. So we had 4 priorities as part of our diversity, equity, and inclusion plan. These are priorities that we want to focus on statewide to ensure that we are creating and have a diverse workforce, that it's equitable for everybody, and that we're inclusive of all communities, of all people, so that they can participate in our registered apprenticeship programs. And so our first priority is strengthening our technical assistance offering for companies on equal employment opportunity in the workplace, especially as it relates to registered apprenticeship programs. And we hope to develop trainings that we provide to employers after registration, but before they implement these programs, to ensure that they're following all of the requirements of equal employment opportunity in the workplace. Another one, as I mentioned in the previous slide, is strategic marketing for underrepresented populations. So I did mention that we'll target the Hispanic population, the Latinx community, to increase participation, but we will also be targeting all underrepresented populations. So we'll be working with different focus groups to ensure that the marketing materials that we develop are culturally sensitive, that they make sense, and that they are something that is helpful to the communities that we're trying to market to ensure that they understand the resources we have. Another thing that we are really excited about is developing on-ramps to registered apprenticeship programs through quality pre-apprenticeship programs. And what a pre-apprenticeship program is it's a program designed to prepare you to enter into a registered apprenticeship program. And more information on those can be had with conversations with the consultants in your area, but ultimately they're trainings that prepare an individual for an apprenticeship program. And they can be provided by anybody, not just an employer. But the point of on-ramps to RAPs is to ensure that those programs not only have the training that's needed, but have the wraparound support services that are core components of and core needs of individuals who may be entering these trainings. So making sure that they're trained, but also supported in the ways that are needed to ensure that they can enter into those registered apprenticeship programs. And then lastly, we'll work with a vendor and a number of different kind of statewide partners to create trainings and train all of our employers and state partners on the diversity, equity, inclusion, and apprenticeships plan that we will develop. So that's kind of a brief overview of the grant. I'm excited about the next 4 years. I think we have a lot of really awesome things that will be happening. And I look forward to partnering with all of you, working with all of you, and having conversations with all of you about the exciting new things that will come from employer incentives and all the different deliverables we'll be doing. So now I'll turn it over to Amy, if I can figure out how to stop sharing, so she can wrap us up.
Thank you very, very much, Chip, and thank you, Demetrius, for providing this really important information. For those who may not know me, I'm Amy Firestone. I'm the Vice President of Apprenticeship Carolina. And as you've heard, we have a very big team working in collaboration with the South Carolina Commission for Minority Affairs. It's a brand new partnership to help us increase our efforts to provide apprenticeship opportunities to minority-owned businesses and the minority community as a whole, potential apprentices, current apprentices, and other partners that we work with. And we wanted to just start out by providing this introductory information because there's going to be a lot more to come. We're planning to have some in-person events to really help provide more information on apprenticeship opportunities that are available now. And if you are a minority-owned business, how to start an apprenticeship. And as you can see, there's a lot of resources available, not just staff on hand to help you develop this program and help you work with apprentices, but also funding. Funding to allow you to start the program in terms of the training costs that you might incur from developing curricula, mentor, training costs, really a lot of different opportunities that Apprenticeship Carolina and the state of South Carolina has never had before. As you can see, we were really focused on increasing efforts to minority-owned businesses because we know that during COVID-19, small businesses, especially minority-owned businesses, were really hit hard. And so looking for talent to help carry the businesses forward is something that we want to be able to do for you all. So there's a lot more to come. And in the interim, there is a list on our webpage, apprenticeshipcarolina.com, of who the consultants on your area to get started. But we're going to be proactively reaching out to you with our partners at the South Carolina Commission for Minority Affairs to help you with this process. So looking forward to working with all of you, and we appreciate your time today to talk about apprenticeships. So this concludes, I think, our second to last event for South Carolina Apprenticeship Month. We've had 39 events. And we're very appreciative of the partnership to be able to help more South Carolinians advance through apprenticeships. So thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful afternoon. Bye-bye.